Hey there friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping in today. I have a new layout to share for Shimmerz paints, and I'm going to be using lots of pretty colors today. I'm going to start this layout with a cut file, and I went ahead and cut it on some plain old textured white cardstock, and this cut file is called Remember Floral, and it is from Just Nick's Studio. I'll make sure to link it down below. And I cut it twice because I had an idea going in my brain at the time, but that changed and I only wind up using the larger one. My thought is I want to leave the cut file blank and then let the shimmers show from behind it. So I'm going to do some painting today, and I'm going to use thick, smooth white cardstock. This is the Basil Marshmallow, and I'm going to coat it with clear gesso, and I'm not quite sure how much mixed media I'm going to add to this, so I'm going to go ahead and just coat the whole thing with gesso, and this is going to allow me to add lots of color, lots of water to help the colors blend and run and spread together. And so I was thinking pink and orange for some reason, so I went through all of my shimmers, and all of the colors that I'm going to use today are the original Shimmerz mixture. So when you go to look for these in the store, they are called Shimmerz, and they come already ready to go in these little pots. You just have to stick your brush in there and stir them up, and they're ready to go. And I'll let you know all the names of the colors that I'm using here. So I wanted to add paint on the background, like I said, and I wanted to make sure that I got the colors exactly behind the flowers to start. So I lightly traced around where the flowers are going to go, and then I'm just going to start using all of these different shades of pink. So at the top there, I've got Going Peach Side. The second color there in the line is Wed Wagon. Then I've got Pip Pip Cherry-O, which is one of my favorite pinks. Then I have Golden Roses. Then I have Moulin Rouge. And then the dark one at the bottom is called Berrylicious. So I'm just kind of mixing and matching. Some of these are dark, some of these are light. And I am using water to kind of dilute some of the colors. I'm using a brush, I'm using my finger, and just trying to get some darks and lights going where this big flower is going to go. And I love how this looks when the cut file comes back on top of it, because I am not a painter. I'm not a watercolorist. Like, I have no idea how to just freehand beautiful florals or leaves or anything like that. So I'm just kind of winging it here and kind of experimenting and seeing how this will look. I wasn't even sure it was going to turn out, but we'll just see how it goes. Now, the other flower, I wanted to do more of an orange color, so I'm mixing two colors to get those different shades. I'm using So Sappy and Pumpkin. The pumpkin is the one that's obviously a brighter orange, and then the other one is So Sappy, but I'm just kind of blending them together. I'm also adding a little bit of the Berrylicious on the pink side, which is that last one that's really dark, and it's just a blending process. I want some darks, some lights, and I want these two flowers to be different colors. So I definitely wanted a big pink one and then a smaller orange one to start with. And I spend quite a bit of time just working on this, and I love the way the shimmers blend together. They work so nicely together, and if the pinks and the oranges do blend together, it's okay, because I love those two colors mixed together. But so far, this is what I have, and I like how that's looking. It looks kind of weird as it is by itself, but it makes more sense when you put the cut file back on top of it. So as I was doing this, I thought it would be pretty to get a little messy, and as if this isn't messy enough already, but I mean go beyond the edges of the cut file to kind of look like the flowers are kind of bleeding downward and then around the edges of the cut file. And yeah, I didn't want this to be perfect. I didn't want to stay inside the lines. I wanted it to look abstract and messy, and believe me, it definitely does. Have I ever created something neat and organized? I think not. So yeah, messy is the way to go, because I don't know how to make neat and organized. You should see my desk. It's messier than my layouts, so yeah. But I'm going to add some splatters and just keep working on this. I don't film the entire process. I do show you a lot of the process of this background, but I spend a lot of time working on it, and if I didn't cut some of it out, we would be here for way too long. So I like to use my roll of paper towels there to kind of roll over my splatters. I find that I get better results with the splatters staying circular. Sometimes I'll use my napkin if the splatter is large enough, but when they're too small for me to ball the napkin up into a little point, I like to roll my paper towel over it because it doesn't make the splatter go into a misshapen circle. Because when I splatter, you know, I want them to dry circles. Now some of them, like right here, they're a little bit bigger. I can use my napkin there, but it just depends on what it looks like and if I want it to be darker or lighter. If I want it to be darker, I'll let it sit longer. If I want it to be lighter, I'll try to dab it up pretty quickly. So I kept playing with it. I let it dry, and look how shimmery it is. I love that. So, so pretty. And I do want to note that the original Shimmerz mixture, all the colors I'm using here are very, very shimmery. And I mean, most of the Shimmerz, all the different styles, except for the Coloringz. The Coloringz don't have any shimmer. But everything else has some form of shimmer. So when it's dry, it's either going to look sparkly, it's going to look glittery, it's going to have this light sheen of a satin or a shimmery finish. Just each different style of Shimmerz is a little bit different. Now these are very glittery. I always say that it looks like there's ground up glitter in there. And whenever I add water like I'm doing today, it does take out a little bit of that intense shimmer. So just be aware of that. If you are using Shimmerz and you do dilute it with water and you know, add that to it, it may affect the shimmer finish. But as you can see, I'm adding a lot of water to this today, and it's still quite shimmery. And a lot of times I'm okay if the shimmer is affected a little bit, because most times I'm going for the color. But I've never used a Shimmerz with water that still didn't shimmer in some way. Except for Coloringz, because they don't have shimmer. They're just flat color. So yeah, everything here today definitely has shimmer. And here I'm still working on this background. I just kind of, I know it's going to look abstract, but I still want it to look a little realistic with lights and darks on, you know, each sides of the petals there. And yeah, that's why I keep bringing the cut file back on top of it. So I think I have the two main flowers done, and now I want to get something behind those other little side flowers, the blooms. And I thought that I would use these same colors, but just go a little bit lighter. And I'm trying to just kind of wing it and see where they are and to know where to add the paint. And again, I want this to kind of bleed out from the cut file, so it's not 100% perfect. It's not 100% neat. I want it to look messy. And I think I'm meeting that goal. But I think these colors are really pretty together, and just going to keep going. I think we're almost done here. Yes, I did a little bit more on the left side, and that color there is, I think, going peach side that I'm working with there. It's hard to tell once I've started to kind of blend them and mix them and match them together. But yeah, that's the fun part of it, is just pulling out all these different shades and seeing what new colors you can come up with when you start to mix and match. And if you're doing something like this, you know, don't be afraid to use your fingers to help smudge the color around. Sometimes I feel like my hands do a better job than the brush. And yeah, don't be afraid to do that. So I'm really liking how that's looking. And yeah, this is why I only wound up using one of the cut files, because this took up so much space on the background. I thought, where would I even begin to use the second one? I wouldn't really have any room for my photo. And I don't want to cover a lot of this up. You know, I've spent a lot of time on it and I want it to be visible. And if you look at this cut file, there's kind of a little dip in between or above the big flower there. And so that is where I'm thinking my photo is going to go. And there is my photo. It's a cute selfie. Surprise, surprise. I love scrapping selfies of me and my girls. And it's going to go right there above the pink flower because that's the perfect little area for it, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and glue down some parts of this cut file. I don't want to glue the entire thing down because I want to be able to bend up some of the petals to make it look a little dimensional, to kind of pop up off the page. And so I'm going to start to work on layering. I'm going to add a little bit of white tissue paper behind my photo there to give it a little bit of some kind of layer or a border around the photo there. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop it up with some adhesive foam. And that's just going to pop the photo up a little bit off the page there to give it some dimension. So I took some time to think about what I wanted to add to this, and I pulled out the Unforgettable collection from Cocoa Vanilla. Haven't used this a lot yet because it's so pretty. I've been hoarding it, but the colors match this collection. So I pulled out some of the papers, some of the stickers and die cuts and things, because there's a lot of florals in this collection, and just started with some of the 6x8 papers for layering behind the photo there. The colors complemented all these shimmers that I use really well. So I'm going to use that pinkish, orangish color paper, add a little bit of this black and white text paper. And these are just going to be kind of hints of these colors kind of peeking around the edges of the photo there. And I like my edges to be uneven. I like to run them through my edge distressor there. It's got a little sharp edge. I don't know if you can see it in the middle there. And it just ruffles up the edges of the paper. And if you don't have one of those, the edges of your scissors work just as well. So there's definitely more than one way to get those ruffly edges. So yeah, just a couple layers, different papers behind the photo there, and I like how that looks. Sometimes I don't layer anything behind the photo except tissue paper, but sometimes I like to add lots of things behind there. It just depends on the layout, depends on the photo. It just depends on everything, you know. Every layout has its own feel. And so this one, I just felt like adding some layers. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to cut a little piece of the cut file open so it can layer on top of the corner there. I'm going to keep sorting through things and try to decide what else to add. Because sometimes when I make a layout like this, I call this kind of a layout from scratch, which means that I just start with white everything and then just go for the shimmers and kind of create my own color scheme. And then once the shimmers part is done, I'm left with, well, what else am I going to add? So I have to go in search of a collection or, you know, a group of products to add. And, you know, if you're like me, you've hoarded things for so long that you are bombarded with so many things, you don't even know where to start. You probably have things from years past that you've forgotten and you don't even remember having. Yep, that's me. So luckily I had this Cocoa Vanilla collection close to me, and I thought, yep, this is we're gonna do this because it's gonna match, and it wound up working great. So I'm gonna add some of those clear stickers to the sides. The orange looked really good, and then I'm gonna add in a couple of these gray leaf sprigs because my photo has lots of gray in there, and I thought that that would work because, you know, a lot of times we go with green leaves when we use flowers, but when I looked at this cut file, I had originally somehow thought that there were leaves on it, but there weren't. So I thought, okay, we're not going to go with any green. We're just going to stick with the main colors here, the orange and the pink. And then when I saw the gray leaves, I thought, oh, that would be a good addition. Very subtle, but still it flows. So once I had the leaves decided, I thought, okay, I want to add some small things. I don't want to add anything that's really huge because the cut file is pretty big and it takes up the bulk of the page. So I'm looking for smaller things, little die cuts, mostly flowers. So I found a couple of really pretty watercolor die cuts. They're small. I found 3. I think I've got 2 orange ones and a pink one that I'm putting adhesive foam on right now. And then I'm going to wind up adding in some more flowers that I'm going to cut here in just a second using my manual die cutting machine. And so I have this little die set here, and I'll link it down below, that I got from scrapbook.com from Sizzix, and it's just got a bunch of small different styles of flowers and leaves. And so I went through that And I'm going to use those same 6x8 papers to cut out several little different flowers. And this is just a cute little teeny tiny cluster of flowers. I don't even know what kind of flower this is, but I think it's really cute. And I'm going to make it work somehow on this layout. And I like it because it's small. And like I said, I don't want to add anything huge at this point. You know, I tend to do that a lot. Once I get the big ticket thing done, I like to look for smaller things to add. I don't tend to do well with really big die cuts or things for some reason. I don't know. Like when we get big chipboard sticker sheets from crate paper, they usually are some really big things. I hardly ever use those. I just don't know how to make those work. So I really appreciate the smaller things like this. For me and my style, I guess. But I found another little flower. You can see I cut some of those there using the same papers, and I'm just going to scatter those around as well for little small specks of each of these colors kind of scattered around here and there. So this is definitely winding up being a completely floral layout, and I'm not mad about it because I love me some flowers, especially pink and orange ones. And so yeah, start to glue all of those down. And again, I just kind of scattered them around in random places there. And I'm using Scotch tacky glue. I almost always get that question of what kind of glue I'm using. It does not come in that bottle. You buy the bottle separately, and it's called a fine liner bottle. And then the glue, I just put it in there and it works great. I went through all of my little stickers that I have in my little random bin of stuff here on my desk, and I found some Maggie Holmes clear stickers here that I'm going to add in a couple spots. I think I found a little Simple Stories black clear sticker sheet, and I'm just looking for little phrases that match, and I can't get this one straight to save my life, but we're just going to go with it. I'm going to go back to some of the phrase stickers from Cocoa Vanilla, and I think I have another collection. That's not the Unforgettable collection. It's the one right before it. It was very similar, but so gorgeous. I have all that in one big bag, so I was just kind of pulling out whatever matched. More clear black stickers here, and I love those because they look like stamps. But they're stickers, and they're awesome. So I'm going to stick this one over here to the side. And then this is a Maggie Holmes sticker book. I believe we got that in a hip kit last month, maybe. But I like this little together piece here. I like that it's angled up, and I feel like where I stick it, it goes perfectly in the little shape there. And then I added in With You, which is also from that sticker book. And then I needed something down there, so I just did some stitching. I didn't want to add any more flowers, so I just did some back and forth messy stitching using dark pink and orange thread to kind of finish off that title area and to fill in some of those blanks. Kind of random, but I like how it looked. I'm going to do my journaling right underneath that using a black fine tip Sharpie. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add in some black splatters. And this is the only one that I use that's in a spray form. This is Coloringz Night Moves, and it's just your basic black. It's what I always use for black splatters. It works great. So anyway, that's the final layout. I really do love how this turned out. It was fun to just paint the background from scratch and, you know, base it on this cut file. And I love making pages like this because you get to create your own color scheme, you know, anything goes. And you could do this with any kind of cut file. Possibilities are endless. But yeah, I got lots of texture going on, lots of colors. I'll link or list all of the colors that I used down below. And then if you head over to the Shimmerz blog, I'll have everything linked. You can see another list of everything that I used, and where you can go to get these colors over in the store. And stay tuned for Black Friday coming up. There is a big sale that's going to be going on, hint, hint, so you don't want to miss that. So keep a lookout on the Shimmerz social media for all the details on that. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I hope this inspired you in some way, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.